Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Behind the Smile. Here in the studio today, I have one of my favorite humans who could ever have walked this planet, Miss Danni Carr. Danni, welcome back to Behind the Smile. How are you today?
I'm good, beautiful. I'm better for seeing you. That's for sure.
I know. We have to be honest. We were pissing ourselves before we hit record. Actually, I hit record and then I couldn't stop laughing. I think the minute I see your face, I just light up. So it's so nice to be back here to have a chat today.
I know. It's so good. We have way too much fun together. It's ridiculous.
We do. Yeah. Now, you've just gotten back from Bali. We were actually in Bali at the same time, but sadly on different parts of the island. We couldn't quite make it line up, but not to worry. How was it? You were running 2 retreats there?
Yeah, it was so beautiful. It's just so great. I love being there. I love doing all the stuff, the retreats, and of course, all the stuff outside of the retreats as well. It's my second home. As you know, I used to live there, and it's just great to be back and with my Bali family there, and got to do some great ceremonies as well outside of the retreats and with said Bali family. And it's just great to be back there. I love it. And I love the work. I love it all. It's so blessed. Like, it's crazy.
I feel the same. The minute I step off the plane, something shifts within me energetically, and it just feels, it's hard to describe. I know that it's a spiritual epicenter, and I think for anybody who's spiritually inclined, they do feel that energy the moment that you land. But yeah, there's just something so special about it. And it's so funny because I continue to have these conversations quite often with people who have a perception of what Bali is like, or perhaps a stigma. Even my own husband, when we first met, he was like, "Oh no, I'm not going to Bali." And I was like, "Well, if you're dating me, guess what, buddy? Like, we're going to be going to Bali."
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of part of the deal.
Yeah.
And then sure enough, because I think he had this idea of lots of Australians in bintang wife beaters, drunk and loud. And look, I'm sure there's pockets of Bali where that exists, but it's certainly not anything that I experience. The way that I experience Bali is a lot more spiritual. It's a lot calmer. I think that the Balinese people are just so beautiful. Do you find that people still have that kind of belief when you speak to them about going there so often?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Or they have this other idea of Bali, or what might be perceived in the media even. And my experience of Bali has been both. When I first used to go there, although I was never really into going to the sports bars and things like that, but, obviously being a big drinker back then, a totally different way of seeing it. But then obviously then moving over there and then getting immersed in the actual culture and then going sober there, it's just, for me, it's a spiritual home. And the connection that I have there with the Balinese people. And that's one thing I really miss as well when I leave there. I get I always want to come home, but then there's that thing that I just miss, that connection. And in Bali, they have a philosophy there called Tri Hita Karana, which basically it's a Balinese pathway to happiness. And in everything they do, they apply Tri Hita Karana, whether it's building or whether it's just your daily life or your work. And so it's the 3 things that we connect to each day. So the first is the divine. So connecting to the divine through meditation, or, how you see everyone doing the offerings, that's part of that. And then connection to your community. So actually connecting in with people is a big part. So that's why every Balinese person, they're always like looking you in the eye. They're Salamat pagi, they're connecting with you. And then, of course, connecting to the land around you. And so, and if any of those things are out of balance, like if you're too much with the divine, not enough in your community, then, you're going to be off balance. Or if you're too much just into the land and nature, then, so it's this beautiful way of being able to balance life and to be connected on all these different levels. I really feel that when I'm there and with my Bali family there, and I miss that when I come home, and as soon as you kind of land in Australia, you kind of look at someone, and I don't mean this to sound negative, but you might look at someone at the airport and they're just busy doing their thing, but it's such a different, you kind of look to them because you've been in Bali for a month and you want to go, "Oh, hi, how are you? How's your day?" But they're giving you nothing.
Truly was noticing this the other day. I live on a park and I walk around the park and Of late, I've actually had my headphones on, often with nothing playing. It's just like I like the cerebral effect of just having a bit of quiet within my
That's nice.
ears.
Yeah.
And I'll just walk and I'm walking mindfully. So my gaze is up and I'm looking to other people who are passing me by. And it's almost gotten to a point now where it's a conscious avoidance. It's like their gaze might be up, and the closer you get, they look down. And I'm like, no, it's okay. Let's connect. Let's
connect.
If it's just a smile.
Yes.
Yeah, there's been a real resistance that I've noticed more and more and more over the years that have gone by recently.
I noticed that too, particularly I live in the Northern Rivers. So say I go and walk the pass at Byron, like everyone I walk past, and I've done this for years, I'm like, hi. And so many people, and I'll get like really offended if people don't say hi back. It's like a little wound to my little soul. And Ash, my husband, always said to me, they're just doing their thing, Danni. Like, don't take it. But it wouldn't happen in Bali. Like if we go out at Cabo, where I often stay, where my friend Buddy lives, there's a walking track there, and every single Balinese person you walk past, you got to kind of stop and say hi, and they got to ask where you're going and where you're from. And, you know, it's, and of course it's different, like we're different, just different culturally, but I do love that. And that's what I love about the retreats. And as you know, Ash, we've run that retreat together, and I believe that you'll be doing similar on yours as well, is introducing people to the Balinese culture. So bringing people into my long-term friend Buddy's household to have lunch and to go into a local ceremony and do some local ceremonies with local priests, so people can actually experience the culture of Bali. Because I feel Bali has given me so much as well, that it's important to kind of to share that with people. And there's so much more to Bali than the sports bars and, you know, getting your hair braided or whatever. There's this beautiful culture and these beautiful people, and who they love us. You know, they love it if we're there and immersing ourselves in their culture as well. So it's such a great gift to be able to give that to people as well.
And that's something that I really admire about you, Danni, and something that I've witnessed you do is the way that you give back to Bali. I know that you feel so grateful for everything you've received from this beautiful, precious space, but to see you know, put one of your dear friends through a yoga teacher training recently, and to see him come out of that and now share those teachings with his community, and I see the way you give back and what you offer, and it's unconditional, and it's so, so beautiful to witness that.
Thanks,
I want to acknowledge you in that.
Thank
I think
you.
it's really important. It was funny when you were talking about those, I'm going to say 3 sides of the triangle, because that's what we call it in AA, when you were talking about the divine, the connection to others, and then the connection to the land for the Balinese. We have a similar thing in AA with the triangle. The reason that the symbol is a triangle with a circle around it is because there's 3 sides to the triangle, and it's recovery, unity, and service. I hope I've got that right. And it's the same thing. They say that even if you're doing one side of the triangle and you're putting all of your energy into that, but you're not balancing it out with those other 2 areas, whatever they may be, then you will feel unbalanced. And then it's very likely that you might fall away from recovery because you're not in the center. If you think about the triangle, and if you're doing all 3 sides equally, then you're right in the center of that triangle, and that's where we're safe. But if you start to maybe only say, you know, if I'm talking about 12-step recovery, if you're only doing meetings, but you're not doing any service and you're not doing any reaching out or connection or any sort of fellowship, then you may start to pull away because you're not getting that balanced recovery. And it kind of just reminded me of that as you were talking about the way that the Balinese live their lives, and finding that balance in all areas. It's just so, so important.
Balance is so important, isn't it? And it just makes such perfect sense. Like if we do spend all of our time in meditation and no time, you know, grounding or being in nature, of course we're going to feel out of balance. Or if we're like not in contact with any nature, wow, you know, we notice how that feels. We can start to feel off. I know I certainly would. As you've been here at my house, it was kind of surrounded by the bush, which I'm really lucky. But then also, if I was just to sit here in the bush and not communicate with anyone, which I could so easily do sometimes, then there will start to be that niggle. So everything has to be in balance. It's smart, and it makes sense. Yeah, totally.
So in preparation for our conversation today, I actually went back and had a listen to your recent chat with Mark Purser. You and I were talking about Mark, and he's going to be joining us on Behind the Smile very soon.
great.
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yes.
I'm glad you made that happen. Oh, he's great.
Thank you for that. We've been voice noting back and forth, and just such a gorgeous person. I had no doubt coming from you as a recommendation. So I'm very excited to have that conversation. But
great.
There was something that you were talking about, which I really wanted to lean into today because it made me smile. And I'll paraphrase here, but it was something along the lines of, you said to Mark, I used to hate yoga and now I just freaking love it. Like and it was like your passion for this, I don't even want to say, because look, let me pare back. When you guys were talking about yoga, let's get really clear. You weren't just talking about the physical practice. You were talking about the full 8 limbs of yoga and everything that it entails. And I know that your recent retreat with Mark was all about unpacking those limbs and really helping people in a simplified way rather than having to go away and do a full 200-hour yoga teacher training. It's like looking at the yamas and the niyamas, these principles. I call them like almost like a little guidebook for life and how you can implement those in a more simplistic way. So that's when I say yoga, let's start with, just so our listeners know what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about when we say yoga. But what I want to know from you, Danni Carr, is how has it changed your life? And the other thing that I really wanted to know is, do you feel like this is a foundation to your recovery? Because you and I got sober in really different ways, and yet we've kind of both ended up on the same path. So I'm really curious to chat about how all of that unfolded for you.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, I hated yoga so much. And I did it because my friend Lissy Turner, who I believe you've had on the podcast as well, I saw her yesterday. She got her yoga, she did her yoga teacher training and she needed people to go to the classes. I'm like, okay. So I'd go really begrudgingly to these classes, but wanted to support her. And I was always hungover. I remember going on retreat with her and turning up drunk to one of her, I can't believe she's still my friend. I was really drunk too. I'd turned up to class, smashed in through the doors. And I'm just like, she's just looking at me, she's like, just go lay in Shivasana and don't. I can't believe she didn't send me away. And and then look and talk about Shivasana, get up, storm out sometimes. I hated it, to lay there. You ask my husband, he just laughs about it all the time. Why is she doing such a long in Shivasana? I've got stuff to do. I'm just going. And I would leave.
People get up in the middle of Shivasana. It's like every teacher's worst nightmare.
Do they do that?
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
See, because I'm a yoga teacher now, which is hilarious, but I only do it. I only really teach on retreats. So no one's probably game to get up in the middle of Shivasana, or they probably don't want to because they're relaxed. But I do wonder that. And I would say to her sometimes, look, I've got somewhere to be. Can you do that Shivasana thing at the end? Just make it short. And she wouldn't then. She'd have and then she'd do this 15-minute one. And that's where I'd get up and storm out. Don't even talk to me about meditation. Oh my gosh, Ash. So that's where I was at. Yeah. And so, but I knew there was something in it. And gosh, over time was many years. So this is years and years before I got sober that I'm talking about. And probably just continuing to turn up to Lissy's retreats and to her classes. And she's just so non-judgmental in that way. Just and then she went sober. And I don't know, I just knew that had some link as well with her getting well and getting sober and her yoga journey, as well as her husband Shane's. So I did start to like it. And then when I got sober in Bali, I did start using yoga quite a bit. And I thought I'll just do one yoga pose a day. I remember a teacher saying that to me once. So I guess it just naturally unfolded as the years went by that I started to fall in love with it. And it was then working with people like Mark Purser, who, I did a meditation teacher training with him and pranayama course with him. That was my segue into it more so. It was more from the meditation breathwork point of view. Then came the asana more so for me, even though I'd been doing it for years, but I wasn't very dedicated. And I started to fall in love with it. I realized how much it was regulating me, particularly the pranayama, the breathing, the yogic breathing, and yoga nidra. That's a guided meditation basically, that's part of Mark's religion. And so slowly but surely, I just started to fall in love with it more and more. And for me, I can't do headstands. I'm not particularly flexible in that way. but it was more about just regulating myself. And this might sound wanky, but I get onto my mat and I just feel this sense of coming home to myself. And that's what it's been for me. And that's what I like to share with people. Yeah. So,
it's so true, isn't it? Yoga in its Eastern traditions isn't actually really about the headstands or, the inversions. It is much more about the meditation and the stillness. And in fact, when you look at the wheel of yoga, the physical practice is to prepare the body to sit in meditation, all to reach this state of enlightenment, of samadhi.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I had that all back to front when I first started practicing. I was exactly the same, Danni. I would go to classes. I don't know that I was smashed, but I would always have a drink when I got home from work, which would be like a mini vodka bottle. Like, I'm not saying I'd have like a little drink, like I'd get it in.
Yeah.
And then that was kind of what I needed just to operate. And then I'd go to a class and I'd be lying in Shivasana and the same experience would happen where I'd just feel so uncomfortable, but I didn't have the words for it at the time. So I think the phrase I would probably tell myself was, this is boring. And that was my way to sort of check out, this is boring. What's the point of this? Rather than having that deeper layer of understanding where my body's actually really uncomfortable sitting in stillness. I heard a beautiful, talking about Shivasana, I heard someone speaking to this the other day about how Shivasana is this really beautiful opportunity to practice detachment because you're laying there in complete stillness, and so often the mind will seek to make meaning, or the mind will try to finish the class early, so your physical body's still present in the practice, but you've left and you're now at the supermarket doing the supermarket shop in your head before you, like, it's all these ways that we're being pulled out of the present moment, and yet this is the opportunity just to allow yourself to fully be there. And what I often share with my students is to allow the resonance of the practice to wash over you, because we cultivate so much energy, so much prana within ourselves as you're moving your physical body, that to lay there in stillness afterwards and just to notice, like, what is my subtle body communicating to me? Like, our bodies are always giving us feedback, but we're never really still enough to listen. And so that's what I love about Shivasana. Now, I'm at the point now where if the Shivasana is not 5 minutes, like, that is the bare minimum. If it's not 5 minutes, I'm like, I want more Shivasana. Let me stay.
Same. I'm the same. I love it. I love a long Shivasana. Now I love meditation. I just love stillness, but it's just a reflection of this is not a judgmental thing. It's a reflection of where you're at. So if Shivasana is very uncomfortable, actually, I remember when I did a teacher training, it was John Ogilvie through Byron Yoga Center. He's an amazing yogi. And he was saying that Shivasana is one of the most challenging of them all, because it's the hardest thing for us to do with our busy lives is to lay in stillness and to be with ourselves. So it's all well and good to be moving the body and doing all that stuff. It's what's the most challenging for us is to just lay and be still. And that's when usually our shit starts to show up, which is why you and I, Ash, in our previous lives found it so difficult. And and then he also talks about the cells absorbing the nutrients of the practice as well. It's where we actually hormonally we start to absorb all the nutrients of the practice, which is really interesting. Yeah. But now so if anyone's listening to this and they find stillness hard or irritating, we totally get you. And we've been there. Yeah. And it just shows how much we can change. And that's why these practices do create a great foundation for us to be able to sit, detach, to discern,
Do you know what else I think happens as well is I feel like your identities, the perceived identities that you may have been carrying around for your whole life, like I'm a reactive person, or I'm impatient, or I have a low tolerance, or fill in the blank, whatever it is that you've deemed to be a part of your core personality. So much of that begins to fall away as we deepen these practices. All of these old ideas, core beliefs, attachments that we had to who we thought we were. It's almost just like over time, the sun just melts it away, and then the core essence of who you truly are beneath all of that is revealed, and that impacts every area of your life, from what you choose to do as a vocation to who you choose to be in relationship with. It's huge, and yet so many of us think that it's just about rolling around on a mat.
Yeah, which it can be at first, and it's often the way in for people. But then usually we find the more that you do start to practice, and if you've got a great teacher who just drops little truth bombs here every now and then, that's what I definitely have with Lissy and Shane. They'd read something from a yoga text. I'm like, and I would swear to God that they were reading it, directing it to me. But that's when you start to grow and deepen, and you have these great teachers who, like, I've just been blessed with wonderful teachers like Lissy and Shane, like Mark Purser, John Ogilvie, like these incredible teachers who also allow you to just show up and be as you are. Like, I've done classes before, maybe younger teachers, where they're really forcing your body into, and it felt awful because it's like, I can't do this, what they're doing. But to have these teachers that are like, use your blocks, use your bolster, just lay in child's pose, or just get into child's pose if that's all you can do. Just show up. And that's when it changed for me. That's 100% when it changed for me, when I just realized I've got autonomy over my body and I choose how, when you spent your whole life people pleasing, Ash, as you know, and drinking and not being true to yourself, it's pretty challenging, but it opens up. You think you're just going to a yoga class, but it's like you said, it reveals so much about how we show up. And I definitely would have been, and that's probably why I hated yoga so much, going to other teachers, particularly when I first moved to Bali. These, not saying that young teachers are bad teachers, but these sort of young, fit, hot, that I just had no, and they were doing amazing things with their bodies for sure. But I was like, I felt, that's a reflection of me, not them. But I was just trying to people please, and that was revealing that to me too. Does that make sense? Am I making sense?
Makes so much sense.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I think that's where sometimes the intimidation can come with yoga, because people see it on Instagram, or they see the perfect body in the matching activewear doing the headstand. It's like, well, I can't do that. Or so often people will say to me, I'm not flexible. I can't do yoga. I'm not flexible. And I'm like, that's why you do the yoga. Like, it's just about meeting yourself where you're at, absolutely. But then the other thing that I think what I heard you saying there was to find the teachers that resonate with you. I'm the kind of student, I follow my teachers around, from studio to studio based off where they are on any given day. I'm loyal to teachers even more than, say, studios, because I find that when you find a teacher who speaks to your heart, it takes the practice to a whole nother level. It's funny, I was teaching yesterday, and I actually had a couple of students come up afterwards, and they were like, were you speaking to me? Because like, they're like eyeballing me, and they're like, I swear what you were saying just then, because there were three questions that I asked. One was where are you holding on? Like, where are you gripping in life? And the second question was, what are you trying to control? And then the third question was, what would it look like if you simply loosened your grip? And it's so funny, isn't it? Because
how good.
There's such simple questions, but very much in alignment with aparigraha, the idea of letting go, and to be in stillness and just to ask yourself. It's almost like you're journaling in your mind, especially if you're in, say, a yin practice where you're holding shapes for 3 to 5 minutes and you've just got that time just to deeply reflect. And it's not about making anything right or wrong or attaching meaning in any way. It's just simply provoking thought and just allowing it to sort of bubble away. It's, where else in life do you get that time? Yeah.
That can be life-changing for someone. For you to ask those sort of questions that someone might not have had time to have enough stillness to sit and even think about something like that. But when you've got them kind of captive there and you are creating this environment that's safe and still, and then you drop a question like that, that's really powerful. I mean, you're such a beautiful teacher that you do infuse a lot of that kind of stuff as well into your class and create a sense of safety. I mean, I was lucky enough to have you do a little yin practice with me. I had you all to myself in my own lounge room. It was so beautiful and nurturing and just gorgeous. Like, yeah.
I loved that. So right before I ran my retreat in May, I went and stayed with Danni for a couple of nights, and it was so nice just to hang out. And I'm still talking about that Be Fit ice bath workout thing that you took me to. B3. Oh my God. But no, just so beautiful to hang out with your family and to be in your home. And yeah, it's just a very, very special place. And
I mean, that's the thing about this whole sober journey too. It's the people you meet along the way, like these people you make, and of course there's some dickheads out there too, but once you kind of start to discern, that's one of the things in yoga, right? The discerning and detachment. But you could just have these beautiful connections with certain people that you just fall in love with. And, gosh, I mean, if we weren't sober, we would never have met or come into each other's paths.
100%. I was thinking about that this morning, actually. I knew that we were having this conversation today. I was driving to the Cairo and I thought to myself, how freaking cool is it that because both you and I decided to get sober and then started podcasts, our worlds, like the universe brought our worlds together, and that never would have happened. And, like I've shared so many times on this podcast, navigating friendships and sobriety for me has probably been one of the hardest parts of my sobriety journey. And yet in all of that discomfort and challenge, there's been these beautiful experiences where I've had people such as yourself come into my life and form adult friendships. Like, who knew? Like, do you know what I mean? Because it can feel a bit awkward and clunky to do that, but it's just felt so natural and easy. And, for anyone listening along who has that fear, like, rest assured, anytime somebody leaves your energetic field, like, it makes space for the right people to step into it. And that's certainly been my experience.
Really. And in early sobriety, that's so hard when you lose a lot of friendships or people stop inviting you around. And, that is a very hard place to navigate. And that's often where people will decide, this is too hard, and just go back to the old familiar, because it can be quite painful. But as you say, if we can just sit with it and just be with it, and just trust that your people are out there. I mean, Ash Butterss wasn't in my field for years after my sobriety, but now here we are, So we've got, just to allow, just to give that kind of grace to yourself to let the people fall away. If and if they're meant to be back in your circle, they will. But to open and create space for these beautiful, real beautiful friendships that are full of, for me, some of the friendships I've made in sobriety are just so golden. They're so full of care and thoughtfulness and genuine just care for each other.
It's authentic, isn't it? I don't know. I know that I could call you and pretty much say anything that's on my mind and you're just going to get it. And there's no judgment. And
we're super close.
Yeah.
Yeah. And effectively, Ash, like we're in the same kind of business, where some people, it could become a competitive thing. And for us, it's not been it, and which I love, because I actually don't have a competitive bone in my body. It's just, it's just not something that I've grown up with. My husband gets really annoyed. I'm terrible to have on you. Don't ever get me on your team in team sports because I'm useless. I'll end up giving people the ball. But it's, and that's what's beautiful too, just to be able to lift each other up and support each other. And that's what you find in real, proper connection with people, And it's not every person you meet, but when you do, you just really cherish that.
So
know
much
that your
so.
people are out there.
Yeah. 1,000%. Hey, one thing I want to talk about is just going back to your practice for a moment. So, Danni, you've built the most incredible community with How I Quit Alcohol. You run your sober 4-week programs. You've got your grads group. I know you check in with them on a weekly basis. And so therefore you're living and breathing these practices as a teacher. And they often say, if you really want to know something on a deep level, teach it. But maybe that's not where everyone wants to go, and that's okay as well. But I want to talk about the importance of the consistency and the way you show up to your practice. And also, do you think that you put more energy into your recovery now? Is it 8.5 years down the track, or when you first began?
Wow, that's such a great question. Okay, I'll just go to the second half of that question. It's not really about my recovery so much as it's about my expansion. Does that make sense? So I feel like I've recovered a lot of the parts of myself, but we're always, like, if I was to stop the practices, make no mistake, I'm a shit show. Like, I'm so dysregulated and I'm run hot all the time, and so I need the practices to keep me fairly level or flexible, to keep me flexible with my own nervous system. I'm not talking about touching my toes, although maybe that too. So I realize now, I don't know if it's getting older. I'm about to turn 50 next year, or whether it's just being long-term sober. But I really do need the practices to just keep me evolving and to keep me regulated. So do I work harder at them? Probably, yeah. I probably work harder now, but it's just like this gift that I get to give myself each day. I really do love it. There's nothing about it for me that feels like work. Sometimes, if I'm honest, I usually have an internal battle about my meditation each day. It's like, I'll do it later, or,
Same.
You've been doing it every day, have a day off, or, but it's like, just do 5 minutes, Danni. Just start there and see how we go. So, it's not like that we're just these perfect puritanical people that just show up and do our practice every day. No, there's always an internal battle.
Yes.
So we do have to work hard.
Almost every single morning, because I always try and meditate first thing in the morning, because for me, if I don't do it first thing in the morning, the reality is it's not going to happen.
Yeah, same.
And look, to be honest, my morning routine at the moment, because I'm doing two-way prayer, is kind of looking at around 45 minutes once I've meditated, written my gratitudes, done my two-way prayer, and kind of, I guess, processed that. So, and I do a couple of readings to spark the two-way prayer. So look, I'm aware that it's a bit of a commitment, and maybe that's where the resistance is coming from. But for instance, this morning I knew I was short on time. I just did the meditation, and that was, like that for me is still okay, great. But what's really interesting is that when I'm then writing my gratitudes, or I'm thinking about the parts of my day that I'm most grateful for, the meditation's always in there.
Yes.
It's like I resist doing it, and then I do it, and I'm like, oh, that's better.
I know. It's like, every time you do it, it's like, what was I even thinking? Why wouldn't I do this? Yeah. Yeah, just do something each day. Yeah.
And I think for a lot of people, choosing a sober path, nobody, I think, is saying that this is necessarily the easier, softer way. Having to meet yourself in sobriety with nothing to numb the external world and what you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis can be really fucking hard sometimes. But I do find that your ability to be able to handle life on life's terms and what life throws at you, it changes significantly if you have this foundation of a spiritual practice, whatever it looks like for you, to underpin the way that you move through life. It's the difference between being sober and happy about it, or being sober and miserable.
Well, our brain is hardwired for spirituality. So actually people who have a spiritual practice, they've shown it on brain scans and everything now. It's pretty amazing. I'm just trying to find the name of this book that I've been reading for some time, but it's pretty fascinating. It's all about that. But people who have engaged in a spiritual practice of some form have less depression. The brain is actually less wired for depression and anxiety and things like that. And I know in myself, before I had a spiritual practice, be it meditation or just to be in contact with the divine each day, is without it, I'm a court case. I actually need it, There's a book called The Awakened Brain by Lisa Miller. It's a fascinating book, and it's all the science behind how we are hardwired for spirituality. I highly recommend people have a listen.
I'll link it
or
in
read
the show notes.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Brain.
The Awakened Brain by Lisa Miller. Absolutely brilliant. So yeah, it makes a huge difference. And there's so much science behind it now. That's one thing about Mark Purser. He teaches all this stuff, but he's also done a lot of training, understanding the science behind all of this stuff. And that it's not woo-woo, that it's actually, it actually does work. And these yogis have been onto something for thousands of years. It's pretty amazing.
Hey, Danni, I don't know if I've ever asked you this question before, but what is the divine to you right now?
It's God. And I grew up in a Pentecostal household, and the thought of that makes my skin crawl. Like I've got like some kind of trauma response to religion, because I won't go into that. But I was always really anti that. But now after just so much meditation, I feel like there is, whether it's God or just this kind of this being, this entity that is this energy, this universal energy of love and just beautiful energy that I feel like I can tap into every day. And I feel like it's my friend, and it's this sense of love, like, that I feel connected to. And it helps me love myself. When I was going to say this earlier about the Shivasana thing, laying in Shivasana or being in stillness. Before I quit drinking, I really hated myself. This is one thing we did on one of the retreats, talked about what our old self would say about our new self. And like I really could not stand to be with myself at all. I just was so full of self-resentment and hatred and just, I didn't even like being in my own skin. To now, I really, truly have this beautiful relationship with myself. And that's come from all the practice and all the work and a real care. And a lot of that comes from this being in touch with the divine. I don't know. It's beautiful. And I would never change it. That's why I would never go back to drinking, because I could never bear to go back to that hatred for myself. And that's what a bottle of wine is for me. It's not just a nice glass of wine and, just a bit of relaxation. No, it takes me somewhere else, and it's just not good for me. And, I'll never do it again because I never want that again. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same way. It's even if I was listening to a podcast yesterday about the brain and how we can heal these different parts of ourselves. And she was suggesting that, depression, she was saying even schizophrenia, and she actually mentioned alcoholism. There are all of these things that are created in the brain and therefore can be removed. And I was thinking, that's really interesting. So maybe I am fully recovered now. And what would it look like if I had a drink? And then I thought to myself, but I don't want to, because the life that I get to live today, one is that is deeply connected to source and self and others. I know that I would lose all of that. Not even if I went back to drinking alcoholically, even if I was just having a wine every other night. Like, I just know that over time it would just disconnect me from source and slowly erode all of the work that I've spent the last 6.5 years sort of piecing back together and that connection to self. And you're totally right. Like, it's actually just not worth it.
Yeah. That's how I feel as well. Like, people have said to me so many times, surely you can have just one drink now. Look at all the work you've done on yourself. I'm like, yeah, but why? For what? Yeah. I can actually get a really great buzz from certain, breath work practices.
Yes. Well, you just did your advanced Kriya training, didn't you?
Yeah. Like, there's so many Kriya practices where I just give me 5 minutes and I'm high as a kite. So I actually don't need it. And I get no hangover. And yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's brilliant. So good. I think what I want to leave everyone with today is just, the message that spirituality is not this inaccessible woo-woo realm. You don't need to be wearing your mala beads and a white smock to be spiritual. Like, you can have moments of spirituality throughout the day, a moment of mindfulness, like I love what you said earlier, Danni, one yoga pose, like maybe it's child's pose. Just allow yourself to start exploring what's the worst that could happen,
Totally. Yeah. And have fun with it too. Like, there's one Kriya practice, I won't say which lineage it's from because they'll come at me for bastardizing their practice, but where you're inhaling, you're drawing up the shoulders, and you're kind of exhaling, and I won't say much more than that in case I do get in trouble, but it's this sort of sense of letting go. So it's like, and you're kind of having this sense, of letting go with the exhale and dropping the shoulders. But I've incorporated it with my grads, and then also on this last retreat I did, where we're like inhaling, we're going, fuck it, fuck it, fuck it, fuck it. And people were looking at me at first going, what? I'm going, yeah, it's called the fuck it Kriya. And so everyone's sort of sitting around, and a few people are kind of going, oh, and I'm like, just do it, just say it, fuck it, fuck it. And then in the end, we're all in fits of laughter, and we're all throughout the rest of that retreat, like walking past each other going, fuck it, fuck it, fuck it, with it, lifting the shoulders up and down. I know it sounds terrible and not very, but you know what? You got to have fun, and this is also part of it. We don't have to be so earnest about it all. Like, and this is what I love, because me, I'm a bit of a bogan, and I love, I love mucking around and being a bit silly. And of course I love being quiet and introspective and all that as well. But just like, let's be real. Like, let's just be real here. Yeah. And if there wasn't some kind of tinge of fun or naughtiness or a bit of silliness in there for me, I'd get bored as well. So it's, you got to have a bit of fun, got to tell a few fart jokes while you're in downward dog, and, it's okay.
I love that about you.
Yeah, but that's
exactly.
Let's get a bit more down to earth with it as well. While it is great to have reverence for the practices and things like that, which I do, it's also great to have a bit of fun and not be so serious, because, we want to have fun. That's why we were drinkers and partiers. We
exactly
like to let loose and be silly.
And why would you get sober to live a boring life? No, thank you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's why we're super gross on the phone to each other.
Yeah,
we're a little bit naughty.
That's for private conversations or conversations on retreat.
Yeah, totally. Exactly. Yeah.
Danni, you know how much I love you, and I'm so grateful that you came to share some of your wisdom, your time, and your experience here today. You've got a challenge coming up, don't you?
I do have a challenge coming up. It starts July 5th, which might be the last one for some time because just life is getting lifey and busy. My husband's a musician, as you know, and lots of touring next year overseas and lots of stuff happening.
Amazing.
So, yeah, but July 5th, yep, it's all there on my website, iquidalcohol.com.au if anyone's interested.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I'll actually pop that in the episode show notes in case anyone wants to check that out. I had the most beautiful woman, Bridget, come to my breathwork last week, and she was just saying how much your podcast and this podcast has changed her life. And for anyone who hasn't listened to How I Quit Alcohol before, that's how I discovered Danni. And, you know, you've got over 365 episodes now. So congratulations on hitting that milestone, an episode for every day of the year. You're just incredible. And the way you continue to show up and serve the community, I just think you are one in a million. So I want to say deep thanks, darling. And I love you.
Thank you. And right back at you, Ash. I think everything you're doing is amazing and incredible. And likewise, I have so many people on retreats going, oh my God, I love Ash Butterss and I love you too. You know, like I love your friendship or, you know, and everything you're doing is just absolutely incredible as well. And your beautiful retreats and, you know, everything that you're doing is just amazing. And that people can go and do a yoga class with you or some of your amazing breathwork workshops. Bloody awesome. Like if you're like, get into it, people, it's just so cool. It's such a great offering. And that, you know, that people get to connect with you in person as well. You're not just someone behind the microphone, that you're a real human and, you know,
we love that.
You're doing great work. So it's so cool.
Thank you, my love. Well, again, thank you so much for being here today. I know people are going to get a lot of value from this episode and I can't wait to chat to you again soon.
And so you're in Bali soon, aren't you? August.
Well, yes, heading to Bali. I've got a retreat happening on the 17th of August. So 2 spots left for that. It was 1, but unfortunately someone had to life is lifing. So 2 spots available for that retreat. If anyone wants to come along, I can't wait to be back there. It's just, back at Yama where we hosted our retreat together and it's going to be magic. So I cannot wait for that. That'll be my last retreat for the year as well. So it's crazy. Yeah. Where does the time go?
Oh, amazing. It's just so amazing. So, yes, how exciting for people. Well, maybe I'll take that last spot. I don't know. If my husband will let me.
Exactly. Will that be your 6th trip to Bali this year or something like
probably.
that?
Yeah. Something like that. Crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, darling. Love you lots. Thank you for having me on today.
My pleasure. Thank you. And we'll speak soon.
Bye, darling. Bye.
Bye.